Well, welcome back to Show Me the Money Rugby League TV. It is the Championship review and preview.
After an emotional morning, Mick.
After a very emotional morning.
Shed.
Well, we don't want to let the cat out of the bag. I think this is going out before.
Oh.
This is going out before, yeah. Oh, we're starting it again, yeah. Joe! we want to be shocked and awe, so we get a big backlash. Okay, start again.
It's all right.
Well, welcome to Show Me the Money Rugby League TV. This is our Championship review and preview of Round 5. Who were the winners? Who were the losers? We know there's a massive game this evening taking place at Post Office Road as top of the table Featherstone Rovers host 5th in the table the Bradford Bulls, who of course are buoyed by, well, they'll be hoping to bully Featherstone, but they'll be buoyed after that fantastic performance against Toulouse and also last Saturday. But there has been a full round of fixtures, and it started on Saturday evening when Toulouse really did let loose against Whitehaven by 72 points to 10. I don't think this result is going to come as a shock to anybody. The writing was certainly on the wall. We know Toulouse go shock and awe. We know Toulouse like to start fast, hit fast, get the points on the board fast. And I think when I was looking on Twitter, because it wasn't on television, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was 12-0 after 7 minutes, after 2 early tries. And sadly, Whitehaven, there were, as predicted, lambs to the slaughter. A good response for Sylvan Houlays. And Toulouse, after that first defeat, that shock defeat, which of course was their first league defeat since 2019 at Odsal on Saturday. So the perfect response, clearly a lot of hard work has gone in behind the scenes. I watched Sylvan Houlays' his interview after the Bradford game, and yes, clearly frustrated that the players had behaved that they had done in terms of the ill-discipline, but I think that's a marker. I know they played Whitehaven. We know Whitehaven had a good win against Swinton the week before, so it's not just they are playing Whitehaven, you know, they're playing a very good Championship side who have the ability to roll the sleeves up and get you in the arm wrestle. But that's the perfect response for Sylvan Houlays and Toulouse after that shock result at Bradford.
Yeah, not too much to add, I don't think, really. It was, like I said last week, it's probably not a bad time for Whitehaven to get over there after they'd picked up the points and, you know, got some on the board. So, no surprises in it. It's too hard for the, you know, with respect, the lower teams to go over there. I'm looking forward to the next time they come over here and get challenged. I think we've got Sheffield in a few weeks at Sheffield. So that'll be another, you know, they're the games we're more interested to see, similar to with Featherstone. And they've rightly got the respect as the top two teams, and it's just picking the fixtures when we're going to see them really challenged.
And I think from a Whitehaven perspective and their head coach, John Tigala, yeah, it's not an ideal time going over to play them after they've lost that first league game in however many months and years since 2019. But that's a fixture now out of the way. Yeah. And that fixture is very similar to Newcastle when I put the tweet out when I think they got beat by 58 points to 0. You know, Chris Foreman and Newcastle, they're not going to be, you know, their season's not going to hinge on one game against Toulouse, and that's the same for Whitehaven. So,
yeah, I think it's enjoy the weekend. Hopefully you don't get any injuries, you know, and again, after them getting the win, you know, if they'd lost that game against Swinton, it would have been tough. Probably tougher. But
what's interesting now, and this is both after speaking to Newcastle and York and also Whitehaven, is the experience Championship teams get when they get over there. And this is a warning for your Halifax, your Bradfords, your Featherstones and your Londons who have yet to go to Toulouse. So obviously it is paid for by Toulouse. So you get the apartment with a pool. The food is amazing. And what's interesting about the food is, and this is the good feedback that I've received, I'm not saying it's naughty of Toulouse, but a lot of the food that provide is very starchy and ploddy.
Loads of bread and French brie.
You get there on the Thursday, so the Friday night, guess what? There's this massive hamper of food full of all these lovely treats. And, you know, you can... Look, you're right, Jimmy. Look, we don't want to be too disrespectful to Championship competition, but a lot of Championship teams, certainly the part-time ones, who are probably fighting relegation, are going to probably look to that fixture as a mini holiday.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how the, in inverted commas, top teams who feel they've got a chance, if they approach it slightly differently.
Yeah.
You can't blame any of the lads from the, again, the lower teams in inverted commas who go over and just enjoy the weekend, enjoy the experience. I'm sure some of them would have liked to have gone in 8 weeks' time when they can get on Sun Lounger, but it's one of the perks, in this part-time rugby league players, it's nice for them to have some perks like
I've
that.
got a quote for you. Show me, I've got a couple of Newcastle players, and after speaking to a couple, they said it was a rejuvenating weekend, I believe one of the quotes from one of the players was.
Nice.
It was a nice rejuvenating.
Oh, they do. They put you up. Let me tell you.
Bit of sun, a bit of good food.
Yeah, why not?
Everyone who I've spoken to from York, Whitehaven, Newcastle, the 3 teams that have gone over there so far, they're all telling me about the food, the wine, and the beers for afterwards. And look, some club, you're going to treat it like a nice little breakaway. And John Corley, under no illusions, the hard work starts now because they've got London in the Challenge Cup. Barrow and Newcastle, we identified this game last week as potentially one of those.
Sorry, mate, go back. Who've got Whitehaven got London in the Challenge Cup? Right.
That's it's at London.
Right.
But as we know from last season, they won 8-0 in London, and there's genuine belief from Jonty and the players that can go down to London and potentially see London as a vulnerable side. We mentioned Barrow Newcastle last week as potentially one of those big games, season-defining games. Certainly for both Barrow and Newcastle, it was nip and tuck it, edged and flowed. There were points at a premium. Paul Carey and Barrow finally picking up their first point. It ended at 18 points apiece. I've not seen any of the game. I can only go off feedback that I've had from people at Barrow and Newcastle, and the feedback is a draw was a fair reflection and a fair result. Because
Comes down to it, that extra point.
I know we're only at round 5, but that point, that point could be crucial. It's given them a little bit of an edge over Barrow and Whitehaven, the bottom 2. London will go on to their performance against Keighley in a minute, but for Newcastle, after 5 games to be at 3 points.
Can you admit you were a bit harsh last week then, Mick? I've seen the comments. You've reacted to people commenting.
No, I've not reacted to people commenting. I think for my own sort of sanity and my own sort of stature as a bit of a championship aficionado, I probably might have ever been so slightly a little bit unrealistic in terms of looking at Newcastle's first 5 fixtures and then looking at where I've actually placed them, because what I did was took a step back during the week and I saw the comments. Some of them were light-hearted. A lot of people.
No one were mean.
There were nobody mean. They probably thought, hang on a second, Nick's probably not being fair. So I did take a little bit of a step back and I looked at the championship preview show we did, and I did actually have Newcastle in the sort of bottom 4 with your London, your Swinton, your Whitehaven. So I was kind of perhaps conditioning myself to placing Newcastle a little bit higher than I actually did in the preview. So, for Newcastle and Chris Foreman to get 3 points from a tough set of fixtures, which has included away trips to Toulouse and Featherstone, I think Newcastle will be more than happy and more than satisfied with their haul. They, of course, go to Siddle on Saturday. That's the game I'm going to on Saturday.
No, Sheffield go to Siddle.
Not Siddle, sorry, Stanningley. Apologies. They go to Stanningley on Saturday. That should be a fantastic occasion there. I think Newcastle will have just the edge, but it will not be easy for them. But Jimmy, just a little bit on Barrow against Newcastle. We've mentioned how important that point is for Newcastle in terms of their survival in the Championship. How important is it for Barrow? Because last season, they were the surprise package. They're in the playoffs.
Yeah.
They pushed Huddersfield all the way in that great Challenge Cup tie. They've started the season a shadow of the former selves, but now they're finally up and running. That point, albeit it's not a win, could give them the confidence and kind of kickstart their season.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I'm sure that we've compared them to Batley a lot. Both teams, you think, they're just still adjusting to losing massive players. yes, it's nice for them to get a point on the board and not be sat at the bottom of 0, but I'm sure they'll still be viewing it as a point drops. You know, Newcastle at home is a team you've got to be winning with respect to Newcastle. But so they were 18. They managed to get back. They were losing, weren't they? They managed to get 18-16 up with not long left, and then Newcastle get the penalty and decide to kick it, which shows really Newcastle were probably more happy with the point than Barrow.
100%.
So they'll be looking at it as a point drop. So I think the only silver lining is we're off 0, but they do need to start looking now at where they are going to pick up points, because you don't want to be sat at the bottom of that table. Simple as that. So yeah, it's still tough times for Barrow.
When you look at Barrow in the Championship in 2023, now the table's kind of like going into a pattern. I mean, I had them in that sort of chasing pack. So I had Barrow with a Windus, a Keighley, hunting that sort of 6th, 5th spot. I didn't have Barrow any higher, and I certainly didn't have them any lower. Is it fair to probably reassess that now and say Barrow probably are with a Swinton, a Newcastle and a London, and are going to be in that sort of bottom 5, bottom 4?
I mean, I think so, but I had him a bit lower because I just thought it would be this hard. I didn't think they wouldn't win at the weekend. I was pretty sure they would get themselves off with a win, but fair play to Newcastle. I've not seen the game either, so I've not seen how it goes, but it looks like a right battle. But I thought it'd be tough. It's proving to be a bit tougher than I expected. Their next, I'm not sure of the fixtures, but their next couple of home games they're going to be huge.
Well, they've got Swinton at home next, so that's a big game.
There you go.
And that's probably a chance for Paul. He'll be looking at that fixture, and that has to be win at all costs.
100%. And they've got a couple of lads in from Salford as well, so we're not talking about there's quality players who aren't getting in at Barrow. We're not talking about a team who are right down to the bare bones. This is the reality of brilliant season last year, overachieving, far tougher competition, couple of key players going. Miludi and Ritson often. That's the sort of game where Miludi would have come up with something off the cuff and put it to bed. They don't have that now. They don't have that to turn to. They don't have the get us out of jail card. And these tight games are the ones where last year they were winning, and this year, they're probably going to lose more than they're going to win. But do I expect them to slowly start creeping out of that? Yeah, I do. I still think they've got enough to not get, not be down there at the end of the season. But as anything, you don't want too many weeks passing by being stuck in there.
Well, the next game was Halifax against Batley. This was the game I was at yesterday, and this could have gone either way. There was very little between both sides all afternoon. You might have thought that Batley will be the more disappointing of the two because they went into the sheds with a double score lead. I think it was 16 points to 8.
Yeah.
We know Halifax didn't have Joe Keys playing, so it was Kyle Wood and Lewis Shoufray in the halves. I tell you what, though, watching that first half performance from Batley, Craig Lingard, he must have seen enough to suggest, Batley, even minus your Luke Coolies and your Tom Gilmores, they are still going to cause teams a whole host of problems. When you look at the physicality of the two teams, I'd say Batley were almost nearly at least 50% bigger and tougher Brown for Batley, he was just an absolute wrecking ball machine all afternoon. I think ultimately where Halifax got the better of Batley was in the fitness. There was 2 killer tries either side of half time, which really did turn the pendulum, but still, there was a scoreless final 20 minutes. And I think Craig Lingard, I didn't speak to him after the game, but I think what Craig will, if he watches the show, will agree with is Batley had more than enough chances on that Halifax line. The attack was very, very jittery, very stuttery. They just couldn't break down the Halifax defence. But I tell you what, that game could have gone either way. And I think, more importantly, from a Halifax point of view, that probably shows you how important Joe Keys is to Halifax Panthers.
You say they lost him after about 10 minutes.
Yeah, he's out injured now. And, I'm not saying Halifax are going to struggle. We know they've got a tough game against Featherstone. But obviously, on the back of what happened last Monday against Widnes, which for my eyes was a shock. I didn't expect Widnes to be putting 42 points to 14.
We cursed him.
Stick around for our Monday night prediction tonight.
Mick's chucked us both a fiver to tip Fev, see if we can do 3 in a row.
But no, Joe, where do you see Halifax? You know, obviously, a lot of people probably had them placed higher at the minute, the 7th in the table. Is that about where you thought they'd be?
I can't remember what I said on my predictions.
Well, you had Keighley for second. I won't keep mentioning that. By the way.
We all had Halifax third.
I think I had Halifax top 4. Yeah,
we all had him third.
Yeah, I think it's surprising, isn't it? But like Jim says, it's a tough league. Everyone's fairly equal, aren't they? That sounds a bit harsh, but there's definitely a bottom couple of teams that are having to pull off big wins, and it means a lot. But in general, other than Fev at the top and then probably Toulouse, every from that point on to like the bottom, maybe 1 or 2, it's 1 for 1 really. I think it's going to change week on week. I think every week you look at it, it's going to be a massive fluctuation. So they're in a bit of bad form, but hopefully they can turn it around. I don't really have loads to say in it. It's just the nature of the league at the moment, which, to be fair, that's the exciting part in it. Other than Fev potentially running away with it, that's the that you have to grip onto that, as I've moaned about week on week. But you've got that to grip onto.
Well, you say Fev are running away with it, but you know you've got Toulouse, Sheffield, York, Bradford, all nicely tucked in.
I think with Halifax, although we did tip him to get the business done, and I was thinking that perhaps that game against Widnes was going to be their chance to put in a real good performance, because we haven't had any yet. No. They weren't good against Sheffield. They weren't good against
London. From what I've seen,
they only won back by 8, and they certainly weren't good against Fev. So I thought, right, maybe they'll get it going. But they had a couple of players back in for it. But
they're very hot and cold.
I don't think they are at the moment. I think they're just lukewarm at best. You know, I've not seen them being hot at all. You know, and that's the worry for Halifax fans.
I'd say the best against Fev though.
Yeah, but they still got beat comfortably. They were a late come.
Joe, it was 42-4 with like 15 minutes left.
They scored a few late points.
I'm telling you, Simon Griggs don't take Halifax
I'm not saying anything. I'm not saying they've done. No, they've done it out of any other team.
Yeah, they have. But that scoreline was flattering, Joe. What I'm saying is that scoreline was flattering.
They scored 3 tries in the last 15 minutes.
Look, my point stands. Halifax have not been good yet. They've not been reaching the standards that they expect. And what I think is worrying for Halifax is they're running on that slightly smaller squad we talked about at the start of the year. We know they've got quality. The fact that Simon Griggs is already, almost from word go, getting in players and setting up that dual reg, that worries me. And I know that we talked about it last week, different coaches have different things, but clearly feeling that he's not got enough in his squad as it stands and making changes. You look at it, Halifax fans must be looking over at Sheffield going, they're killing it. Great start to the season, albeit they've had different fixtures and different opposition so far. But you've got Corey Aston and Titus Guaze there tearing it up. And they've shown that they really struggle without Keys. And obviously because he's such a great player. But they must be thinking, they're not as strong as, we said it in the preview, they're not as strong as they were last year for me. I don't think their squad's stronger, it's weaker.
Yes.
And you've talked about some off-field issues they've got.
No, it's clear finances are tight. Finances are very tight.
And to go to our overall rhetoric that we've said, that the fight for the playoffs is going to be so good this year. Yes, because of the top 2, as we expected, and then there's a chasing pack. But Halifax are not head and shoulders above the rest. If anything, they're right in the thick of it. So it's going to be a real... Do I still think they'll get into playoffs? Yes. Do I still think they'll probably creep to the top 4? Yeah, I think they probably will, but I am not sure. Not at all. And that's where it's a bit different for them this year.
Yeah. No, it's a fair comment. And like I say, Batley, you know, they had that fine win last weekend. They've had 2 wins all of a sudden, and they've very nearly had a 3rd win of the season yesterday. I'm not sure who they've got actually. Oh, they've got Waff Brow in the Challenge Cup. So
and I'm glad to see that Batley are clearly like they are getting it going. Barrow are taking a bit longer, but you know the will come, and they're readjusting to losing Gilmore. So important to what they did last couple of years.
And what I saw yesterday, Jimmy, was a very, very typical Batley side on the Great Lingard, playing for the shirt. Yes, the structures in the offence were a little bit mix and match at times, and like I say, they had a couple of chances late on the Halifax line, and you suspect they score a try, they've won it. They just couldn't breach that Halifax defence. But again, it was a real good high quality.
Positive signs from coming through.
Real good stuff. Keighley Cougars continue their turnaround in performance on the back of that win they had the previous week. I think it was Jane Chisholm with the drop goal that won them the game. They had another good performance yesterday against London. Again, that game was pretty nip and tuck, and at one point I was looking at it and I'm like, hey, up again, here we go. It's 18 points apiece, I think.
Yeah, 22 all.
22 all, yeah.
He got the game-winning drop goal, but then they got another try.
Yeah.
So we're nearly a repeat to last year.
London were ahead early, weren't they? They were dominating for the first bit. And I mentioned London last week as so far the team that have impressed me most, I think. With not getting rolled over at all, although they've been unlucky in defeat. I actually thought they had a real chance of going into that game. I thought there was a real chance that could have been the upset of the day, in inverted commas. Keighley pull away right at the end. I'd imagine, not spoken to Reece, not spoken to any Keighley lads, I'd imagine that is probably a bit of a flattering scoreline. They won by 11 in the end when it seems like really it was probably a much tighter game.
Well, to be fair to them, Gailey didn't play, did he? So they've not had the starting half back.
No.
They've not had.
No.
I think they've got a couple of injuries. They've got a couple of injuries throughout the side, as everyone does. But obviously, when you have a player injured, I probably talk up Luke on this show a bit, but of Luke's magnitude, it's going to be a massive loss, and they've found a way to get a win against, as Jimmy said, a good London side. So you've got to pray. I think you've got to give Keighley a lot of praise there for pulling out a win without their main starting halfback.
I think they put Billy Gaylor in the arse, didn't we, with Chisholm, which is, like Joe says, we said that was a massive game, didn't we, last week. For them to come away with the points is brilliant, because London are not easy opponents. There's going to be some teams go down to London this year who are fighting for the playoffs and drop points.
No question about it. Mike Eccles, I know I said London are going to be in that bottom four, and I still think they are going to be, but I think London will have enough credit in the bank with 5 or 6 games to go, which will have them safe.
How much then? I'll question you, lads. I've got London lower than you two normally on this show.
I've got them in the bottom 4 with Newcastle, Swinton, Whitehaven.
Yeah, I've got
although
them there.
Barrow are now making me rethink where do I place Barrow in terms of.
Well, I think I had London 4 from bottom, but not getting dragged into it.
Yeah.
And I had Barrow 1 place above him. I've seen enough for London.
You're swapping them and Barrow.
I could easily just flip them around.
Well, you know, answer my question actually then, because I'm going to say how much. So out of these good losses they're having, does that affect them positively or negatively in the long run? Because I can see an argument
for London.
Yeah, I can see a way where it affects them negatively, because they're fighting, but then they're looking at the league and they're.
Well, my answer to that is I think that from the signs they've shown, they'll pick up enough points at home that'll keep that might even, Barrow need to get it going, otherwise I'll flip them and London could.
I'm worried London are playing their best rugby and sadly not being able to pick out the win.
Well, it's a good way to look at it. I see what you're saying there, but
it's probably a sad way, to be honest with you. For London, it's probably a sad way.
Well, a good way for Newcastle. But no, I know what you mean.
No, it's a fair comment. And like
I think they'll get teams at home.
Yeah,
I don't think anyone pushes Halifax to 8 points and Sheffield to 1 point.
Yeah, from what I've seen of London, I think it's a very good positive indicator that they are competitive and they are in the arm wrestle. And like I
think they could struggle, and that's it. Saying I think.
Have you still got them in the bottom 3?
I've got them in the bottom 4. I've got them in the bottom 4, but I don't have London to go down.
No, I'm asking Joe,
they're playing there. They don't have good squad depth either, and they've just got Wigan, aren't they? They've just got Wigan dual reg that got announced a couple of days ago. So Wigan sent a few players down. I think London are going to struggle with squad depth. I think they played some good rugby, and I think if the time was for them to get some wins would have been now when they're playing this good free-flowing rugby. They've not got many injuries. I don't know. I want them to. We love London.
Look,
but
Mike Eccles is clearly going to focus on that second half where errors and ill discipline have cost London because they were in a commanding position. I think it was 16-4 at one point.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
And yet I was like, obviously I'm at Halifax and I'm looking. I'm like, oh crikey, that'll be such a huge away win for London if they get it done. But it wasn't to be, and fair play to Keefler. You know, Reece Lovegrove, I love him to bits. He's sticking with his game plan. Yeah. Yes, it's very high octane. You know, they're going to come up with errors on the game plan, and I'm led to believe there were a magnitude of errors yesterday, which some of which led to London's tries in the first half. But it's certainly exciting times down at Cougar Park, and they should be applauded. We're moving on to probably what I thought would be a huge game. It did turn out to be a huge game. Not for the Widnes fans, apologies, but for the Sheffield Eagles. That does certainly cement Sheffield Eagles in that top 4 bracket. 42 points to 12. I watched the highlights and nothing that I've seen is going to dispel me. I know I might be riding on your coattails a little bit, Jimmy, on the Sheffield Express. But I was watching the meters made by Brandon Douglas, Titus Guaze, Tyler Dickinson, Mikey Wood. Honestly, I think me and you have privately discussed this. I think Sheffield have the best pack in the championship in terms of resources.
I said it in pre-season.
No, Jimmy, I watched the highlights and I'm watching. It's relentless. Yeah. You know, you're interchanging, you know, a Brandon Douglas with a Titus Guaze and then a Tyler Dickinson, a Mikey Wood, who's an absolute workhorse from his days at Huddersfield and Bradford. Look, you know, Mark Aston, very smart. We know there's been money put into this Sheffield team and it is quite rightly being rewarded. I did not. You know what? I'll be honest. That result yesterday is a similar shock to Monday night when I didn't expect Widnes to put 40 on Halifax, and I've then watched Widnes go to Sheffield, and I think there might have been, John Keir might probably pick it up a lot closer than me, but you know, I think there's been a bit of complacency from Widnes.
Well, I were at the game, and John's post-match interview, he nails it. You know, it's a very honest interview, and he says,
"Is it complacency?"
A bit of complacency, a bit of like poor preparation. He felt from players psychologically, thinking after such a good win we can go there, turn up, and we'll be even able to compete. And like you said there, that Sheffield had a very clear plan: batter him down the middle. You know, forward, which they did, and then they've got some. I mean, first half an hour, Widnes did not get in Sheffield's half. I'm not exaggerating. They literally didn't get in Sheffield's half. It was just a wave and wave of play. Some sloppy errors, penalties, and it were dominating. They got a little try before half time. The second half, we got really scrappy and messy, and then a couple of full lengthers from Sheffield. It were, like you say, it was similar to the week spot to Lewis Hatton after the game from Widnes' side of things, and it was just a role reversal where Widnes were poor and Sheffield were extremely good, just like Widnes were extremely good and Halifax were really poor. And Sheffield have capitalised on that. I've been looking forward to that game before the season started. I had it penciled in, you know, 2 teams that I felt were going to get in the playoffs this year that didn't last year. And it clearly now on the back of it, it shows that Widnes' great result the week before maybe took a bit out of them and an effective preparation. Sheffield will bang up for it. And it's hard to single out, you know, a lot of players because across the park, Sheffield were brilliant. You know, literally everybody played brilliantly. From the Rolls Royce, Ben Jones-Bishop at fullback, right the way through to the front line. Brandon Douglas got man of the match, and rightly so. He just it's up against Kyle Amor, you know, and you know, Kyle Amor's unbelievable career, still a great player. But you know, when you're dominating Kyle Amor, you know, we've known for a long time there's a serious player in Brandon Douglas. You know, he stayed at Donny out of loyalty for a bit longer. He's now in his second year in the champ, and he's, you know, within that pack, they're just, you know, they've had a great start to the season. They're going to get more challenges. It's not going to go all the way through, but they're off to a great start. Great 2 points against another playoff rival.
And like you say, Jimmy, it's not just the pack. You know, it is the pack that's allowing Aston and Thackeray then to play off the back of that. Yeah. But you know, unbelievable result.
And they've not even had injuries yet.
Yeah,
and
they've been very lucky.
The players they've got on the sideline, to bring Jesse Senilafeu on for
off the bench for
a bit of a stint. They've still got so much quality on the sideline. So,
well, Sheffield Eagles this weekend are in action. I will find it. It's here.
Siddle,
yes, they got
Siddle. Yeah.
A nice test,
tough test. Yeah, very tough test over there.
To Haywood Road, Swinton Lions 0, York Knights 40. And a few people on Twitter, like I said, because obviously I'd been at the Halifax Batley game, which ended and floored. Obviously, a great 18 points apiece game between Newcastle and Barrow, and obviously Keighley's come behind win against London. When I talk about championship and being enthralling and breathtaking, I put the games in the tweet that were really close.
Yeah.
I wasn't taking anything away from York. Andrew Henderson, wow. You talk about having a disappointing result the week before, you then go to Swinton, you turn it around, and it's 40 points to 0. And I guess Swinton now, after that early season momentum, perhaps Jimmy, perhaps Joe, Swinton are now slowly following
because you've bit at all the games though, haven't you, Mick? And I like it because then it makes it, I guess, every week is so interesting. No offense, so interesting to you because you're reading every game, going, this means they're there, which is brilliant and fun. But I think Swinton had an easier start to the season. Their fixture list were much easier than most others.
I don't know. Going to Batley and getting a result there what was the handicap? 26. That's the shock result of the year. Even more than Bradford beating Toulouse.
Will it be throughout the whole season? If Batley don't hit the playoffs, will that be unbelievable shock, or will it just be people adjusting to the levels of Batley and Swinton?
But what I'm saying, Joe, is for Swinton at this stage to have 4 points and have gone to a place like Batley and got the win.
It's brilliant, isn't it? But they've done what they've probably done what we've said. Every game is completely up for grabs unless you're facing Featherstone or Toulouse at home. I think every game is up for grabs, isn't it? But for me, I was building that up because I think that everyone gives the performance of the week, and this is my performance of the week, Mick.
What is?
York putting 40 on Swinton.
All right, fair enough.
That's what I'm building up my performance of the week because I think that's just an unbelievable result. Swinton have shown they're tough. I don't know if they've got the quality there throughout a whole season, the depth to avoid that or get out of that bottom 3 conversation. But they're a tough side, and York have, like you said, reacted and now fourth in the league, but joint first on points alone. Which, if we said that, to be fair to Hendo and the lads, I don't think any of us did. You had them in the playoffs? I
had York 5th.
I think we had them creeping. Me and Jim had them creeping out of the playoffs on the thing.
I had York 6th, I think.
Yeah, I had him just missing out.
Yeah,
just to reiterate.
Wait, no, I'm still flying. Oh, right. Sorry, Jim. But my point is that for them to be joint, that I think York are my shock of the season because they had so many injuries going into the season. So I think my shock of the first 5 games is York doing so well. So fair play to everyone at York to handle some of their injuries, some of their off the field stuff that might have happened with certain players and leaving and going, and they've actually weathered the storm. So if they now kick on,
I think, and I was going to reiterate your point. I was going to say the reason why, albeit we said who knows, because those playoff spots are going to be crazy. The worry was how they start.
The start of the season.
We were certain that York, as they got bodies back, would get stronger and stronger. I would say that the game against Bradford was massive. That was such a massive win for York. That
first win.
Yeah, yes. I mean, I expect him to go to Swinton with the team they had and win comfortably. I know what Joe's saying; it was very convincing.
I had York to win,
but I thought that would be a pretty straightforward day for him. But like Joe says, to be sitting up there where they are and not being caught lower down, and for me, it is all on the back of that performance to beat Bradford. That's where those bonus 2 points have come from.
Yes.
Against the odds.
Yes.
And to show that even with a few players out, they're still going to be it. So, I'm totally with Joe. I think York, I expected Sheffield to be doing what they're doing. York are a team that I thought might find it a bit harder to start with. Who knows? They still don't have the biggest squad, so if they do run into a bit of injuries, I still think the same case applies.
Yeah, York are very.
It might cost
York's
him.
squad stuff's very similar to Halifax.
But like we said, York at full strength, and I said it in preview, as good as anybody.
Atteringano, player. If you had to give your player of the season so far, is Atteringano?
No, because he missed out.
Riley Dean at Featherstone for mine. He is really.
It's a nice gig at behind. It's a nice.
I know, but anyway.
Player of the season so far for me, Mr. Brandon Douglas.
Fair enough.
Mine's Atteringano. His stats have been absolutely ridiculous so far, to be fair to him.
He's only played 2, hasn't he?
No. No, the stats were up. They actually posted. Sorry for phone. Let me check.
Well, while Joel's getting the phone out, Jimmy.
I'm a big fan of Atta, though. I agree. He's an absolute class.
2 starts, 2 tries, 5 assists.
Yeah.
I'm not having that, Joe.
No.
You got to play more than 40%
No.
of games to be player of the season.
No, come back to me in 10 weeks' time, and then if it's
I thought it said free, actually, to be honest. I thought it said free. I misread it earlier.
I agree with Joe.
I agree.
He's a quality player, though, isn't it?
Your team of the week, Jimmy, please.
Team of the week.
Joe's give it to York.
I'll have to give it to Sheffield because for me that was a coin toss game.
Yep.
It was a massive game. And for Sheffield to back up their start, that they needed that win, and it was in a far more convincing fashion than I ever imagined. I thought, that it could go either way and Sheffield might sneak it by a try or at most 2. So it was emphatic victory.
Well, I'll be brutally honest. I was going to give it to Widnes for what happened in round 4 and on the Monday, because obviously...
If you factor that
but obviously what's happened yesterday, I can simply not give it to Widnes, and I don't want to be.
Why don't you give it to Bradford in prepreparation for their victory tonight?
No, because I'm doing this totally impartial without hinting bias, and I want people to watch it and think, you know what? There ain't loads of Bradford content on here, but there will be quite a few Bradford fans that do watch this, so we are going to go on to Bradford and Featherstone in a minute, but, I've got to give it to Sheffield, plain and simply, because Widnes are a top 6 challenger, and to put 40 points on them at home is a really, really good day at the afternoon. Yeah. Okay, the final game from round 5, it takes place this evening at Post Office Road. Bradford looking for their first win against Featherstone at Post Office Road in 8 years. Their last win there was in 2015, the year they first tasted life outside the Super League. Since then, I'm being honest now as a broadcaster, a commentator, I am sick to death of going to Post Office Road and calling heavy Bradford loss after heavy Bradford loss. I'm going there tonight, high optimism on the back of what happened against Toulouse on Saturday. Listen, it is a formidable task, a formidable challenge. I know Matt Dunning and the boys are quietly confident. We were there on Thursday at Stanley for the Leeds Bradford reserve game. We know Liam Tyndall's obviously going to be playing. We know Brad England's out, a huge loss with his work ethic. The question is, the bookies are saying 30, 32, 34 starts at Bradford. Unbelievable. That's 5-6 tries. They're saying, here you go, Bradford. You're kicking off and you're already 6 tries in front. That is what they're saying. Featherstone, heavily fancied.
What I think the question in the game has got to be: who have Bradford got in their pack? Have they got Michael? Have they got Badine, Michael Lawrence, Kevin? Have they got the full pack healthy?
Yes, apart from Brad England.
Apart from Bad England, so that's
Eben Skur's not featuring, of course, because this is his final game he misses due to his ban.
So Michael Badine, rattle off some of the others. I'm bad with names.
Kevin Appo.
Kevin Appo. Kevin.
No Brad Foster because he featured on the Thursday.
And the reserves, yeah. You've got to say they've got a chance because I think the way Fev are attacking everyone is straight down that middle.
Exactly.
And they are sadly destroying everyone straight down that middle. Well, I think this is the best test of the Bradford pack, this new Super League I don't know the best way to put it, but...
Hybrid pack
of players coming down from Super League, giving it 1 or 2 final years at the champ and giving it a go. Yeah. And they've been brilliant in the pack. Well, this is their test. This is the test. If they can go pack for pack, I think Bradford have got all the chance in the world because they've got exciting backs. They've got, obviously, Tom Holmes has been playing exciting.
even decks it a little
Deck
bit far on
pattern.
it.
I've been really impressed with
Jordan,
Deck pattern.
they've all been
I think I said to you
playing.
on the phone.
They've all been playing exciting rugby, but they need that pack. They need that pack to get them there. So if they can go against Fev and handle the pack, I'd put Bradford up in that top 2, Mick.
The challenge.
Top 2.
They beat Toulouse. They beat Toulouse and they're rocking. They've a shock loss to York.
The challenge for Mark Dunning, and this is a question for you, Jimmy, is how does he replicate what worked so well against Toulouse? Because Mark Campbell, the Featherstone owner, Sean Long, the head coach, they were there at odds, so they saw that, and I think their worry, and this is probably why there's been this Featherstone rallying cry that's reverberated round. And I got an email from Featherstone last night. They're expecting a record attendance. They've dropped the prices to 15 quid.
Brilliant.
So they're expecting a record attendance tonight. Listen, it's going to be very partisan. I just hope everybody behaves on the terraces. You know, there's no secret there's been a bit of off-field trouble when Featherstone and Bradford have met previously. But the question is, you know, how does Mark Dunning replicate that? Because Sean Long will watch that game against Toulouse and thought, hang on a second, Bradford are showing mongrel.
Yes.
They're going to take us down that middle, chew us up and spit us out.
Well, I think
I don't think he'll be thinking like that, will he?
I think.
Well, I'm not saying he is. I'm just probably preempting. Sean Long will have seen the warning signs of how Bradford can play.
Can play.
And be,
Can play, yeah.
you know, a Super League ready team in Toulouse.
But you said, I think, I'll call you up on something you said last week. You said Toulouse had dominated everyone down the middle. I don't think they have been compared to Fev. Toulouse have looked unbelievable on the edges, the full back,
Toulouse and
Ollie
Featherstone
Hasselback's
haven't
been
met.
unbelievable.
Toulouse and Featherstone haven't met yet. I was just saying, in the
I
games
think-
I've seen Toulouse, they have dominated down the middle. Look at the 72 points they posted against
I think
Whitehaven.
that, and most of the Ollie Hasselback's probably should be the player of the thing so far. I think, like I said, I got Atter's games really wrong, but everyone who's watched Ollie Hasselback saying how is he playing in Championship, he's been unbelievable.
Bradford did a very good number.
The wingers have been brilliant. The edges of Toulouse have been.
We're talking Featherstone, Bradford, not Toulouse. I'm asking Jimmy.
Exactly. So
how
I don't
Bradford
think he'd be.
replicate?
I think Sean Long's pack. Why would he be as scared? Because it's. I don't
Because
think that's
he's watched Bradford absolutely dominate Toulouse for 75 minutes.
Bradford put
That's why he's going to be scared.
I don't think he will.
Bradford put a performance in that very few, and I say that because I'm not aware of anybody, was really expecting to be able to do what they did. Now, I'm not sure they'll be scared. That's quite a big word. But will they have been a little bit wide-eyed at what they saw? Yes. And like you say, and we said last week, can Bradford recreate that? I'm really, really hoping, and I know Joe is because he's big on it, that we see Featherstone challenged for the first time properly. And I know you've got.
Is that what you're expecting, Jimmy? Tonight?
I'm hoping.
No. Is that what you're expecting?
Come on, Jim. Controversial view. Let's have it.
There's no way I'm tipping Bradford to win tonight.
I wasn't expecting you to.
But I am hoping that Bradford can. And I'm answering your question.
It's the hope that kills you.
I'm answering.
It's the hope that kills you.
We might be able to do it if we all tip Fev to win, just in that. But your question is,
we've got none right.
Exactly. It's
tonight. Is it tonight? We get it right.
But it's can they replicate that, and that comes down to Mark trying to get those players believing that if they can have a go against Toulouse, albeit at home on your little pitch, can they do it at Featherstone, where there's a bit more space. There's a bit more space for Fev to get at deck pattern and make him defend. That's what's scary for Bradford. It's going to be. I'll give you a much better chance when Fev comes to Bradford on that smaller pitch. I will be very surprised if you don't give him a real good run for the money tonight. I'm hoping, and I'll expect it, that you're going to really get into him. Do I think the handicap? I was surprised when you told me the handicap. It seemed big to me on the back of what you've done. Feather a few out, aren't they?
Well, I was shocked, Jimmy.
I've not seen.
Just a couple out on the edges.
I mean, groups and Bulls fans are lumping on Bradford because you could get Bradford.
Well, I'm talking more about who's available for Fev. You know, they've not got Hankin.
Hannikin, yeah.
Hannikin.
You pronounce it, yeah.
Hannikin. No.
Pickersgill's play fullback.
Yeah, but there's no Aikens.
Yeah, that's it.
But what's he called? The one came from Toulouse. The Wigan lad.
It's Atkinson.
What's his
You're
name?
making it up.
What's his name?
It's like Hannikin in it.
I feel like it's wrong.
Oh, we're gonna get
Well, there's no,
here.
there's no Hall, there's no Akins,
Yeah,
and there's no,
Pickersgill's playing fullback.
yeah, there's no Chris Hankinson.
That's Chris Hankinson.
He did actually.
I did.
I think it's Hankinson. So yeah, I know they're not their middle, but look,
Callum Akins out.
Akins
Pickersgill's at
is
fullback.
Akins
yeah.
is a big loss. Pickersgill's a great player. So obviously Fev can cover
Bradford
players.
know a lot about Pickersgill.
They're still going to
but
have Briscoe
he's a very good player, Brandon Pickersgill.
Yeah, and Gale on the wing. So of course it's still a great team, but all I'm gonna say is I'm not tipping Bradford to win, but I'm really hoping they get right stuck into him and they don't let Fev have it their own way. I'm putting past results out the window. I hate it when people get too focused on that. And if players are talking about that, they can't. If Bradford, like Joe says, we need Bodine, you need Michael Lawrence to stand up and work in defence, don't they? There's no hiding in this game.
Well,
there's no hiding. They've got to put their biggest
simply when you're
performances
coming
in the
down that
season.
slope, and I think it's not obviously as extreme as Batley, but there is to the naked eye a distinct slope at Featherstone.
Huge, isn't it?
And as you know from playing on it, sometimes when Featherstone
played on it.
No, I'm just saying from watching teams,
Even at Keighley yesterday, you see the slopes are
I'm
huge.
just saying, Featherstone like to go up in the first half, and there's nothing more demoralising going up the slope in the first half, and you're down by 20.
Let's leave it like this. If Bradford go downhill in the second half, this could be a real game. If Bradford are going uphill in the second half, Fev might win by 20 odd points for me. So
I just think if you're watching it, if you see Fev get on top of them Bradford props in the first 15 minutes, you're in for a long night. If Bradford match them up and it's a fairly even arm wrestle, you've probably got a good chance, because what Bradford can do is, against what Bradford under JK is, they can play some fast width to width, that's the wrong word again, side to side rugby, which is explosive, which is fast paced, and which is great to watch. But if they're struggling down the middle, mate, you're in for a long
night. Like you said,
so,
Jimmy, the pitch will actually benefit Bradford, because there's no one better than Tom Holmes on that second phase, floating it out to Kieran Gill, to Tyndall, or on the other side to Blackmore. So
what you think this bigger pitch favours
will benefit Bradford?
Right, I think the opposite.
Yeah,
I'm with Mick. I think
you're very restricted what you can do at odds.
Yeah, in attack, but I'm not worried about your attack. I'm worried about them running.
Oh yeah, ultimately it's going to come down. It's going to come down to
isolate
on the line.
Literally
80 minutes. Yeah, you have to give 100%. You can't be giving 86, 89.
But this is it for me.
100%.
You've made some big signings in Apo and Lawrence and Bodine.
When Apo comes off that bench, you watch.
If they want to earn their coin and they want to do it, tonight's for night. They need big performances. You can't have Lawrence standing on edge not getting involved. It's got to be all in. Like they've shown against Toulouse, they can do it. But a really difficult task for a team to back up a performance like they did against Toulouse. But if they do, and they get that hill in the second half, let's hope they can keep it to a close game.
Featherstone or Bradford tonight?
Featherstone by 18.
Featherstone or Bradford?
Featherstone by. I'll go close. Featherstone by 8. Come on, Mick. Come on, let's have some hope for your mighty team.
We need all three to put the curse on, Mick.
I'm helping
This
you
is
out.
You're not helping me out. I'm asking your honest opinion. Are you saying Featherstone by 8? Your honest opinion? Well, you both. The bookies are probably looking. Oh, hang on a second. We've got this way wrong.
Well, it wouldn't surprise me if it's 30 odd if Bradford don't. That's the thing, isn't it? But are you gonna now back your team, or are you gonna put the curse on it? Because so far we've done 3 out of 3 twice and we've got it wrong.
No, we've done 4 out of 4 and got it wrong.
No. I think we've done it twice where all 3 of us have said the same thing and got it and put the curse on.
So this is the Show Me the Money Rugby League TV curse. If I say Featherstone, that means Bradford win tonight.
Come on, Nick, you've got to.
Featherstone will win by 100. Joking aside, I just think it'll be. Bradford have had the extra day off. Players returning. Tyndall. I've got to be honest, I'm really excited for tonight, because at the same time it is quite scary and daunting, because you can look at it 2 ways or 3 ways, but Bradford go there, perform, and that's all I want to see. I just want to see a continuation, and I'm sure Mark will be the same, a continuation of what happened last week against Toulouse. The doomsday scenario is, and we know Featherstone can do this, Featherstone can be pumped up. Matt Campbell's put the rallying call out, record crowd there tonight, everybody in blue and white. Very few Bradford fans travel for this fixture because of stuff I mentioned previously. They could run riot, and all of a sudden all that goodwill and positivity is evaporating.
If you're mentioning the betting, you do live betting. I think watch the first 5 minutes.
I'll be brutally
see
honest.
what happens with the packs, and then
the book is giving Bradford a 30, 32, 34 start. I don't see that as this type of game this evening. I probably see it more akin probably to the Halifax game where they probably will win by 18 to 20, probably 3 or 4 tries, and that's what I'm going to stick with.
Yeah.
But Featherstone. Right, there we go. That is the championship done and dusted. Featherstone against Bradford tonight. It's on the radio, it's on television. Watch and listen, however. Next week, it's the Challenge Cup, the 3rd round, so the championship clubs are in there. Some really interesting fixtures. We've got London against Whitehaven. We've got Siddle at home to Sheffield. We've got Newcastle away to Stanley. We've got Widnes hosting the West Warriors from the NCL. Barrow against Swinton, big game up there. Batley against Wharf-Brow. Bradford are hosting York Acorn, another NCL team. We've got Dewsbury against Rochdale, 2 teams from League One who are heavily favoured to be going up in the promotion stakes. Doncaster against Workington, another 2 clubs. Featherstone against Halifax. That's on the Sportsman at 3 o'clock next Sunday. The BBC game is Fatto Heath against North Wales Crusaders. And you've also got York against West Bowling, the NCL Bradford Community Club there. It is a crying shame that game couldn't have been on the Saturday because I'd have loved to have gone to both, but sadly it's Bradford v York Acorn next week for me. Are you going to Siddle Sheffield, Jimmy?
No, I'm down in London next week.
Also, you'll do London Whitehaven?
I won't be.
Oh, you won't? Joe, where are you?
No, my game's the under-18 game on the Thursday, Mick. I'm in Viva Las Vegas. No, I'm not. I'm in America on Friday, so a game on Thursday for me, and then probably watching as you say, BBC and
BBC.
Yeah.
Me and Joe off to Stanley on Thursday, aren't we? Under the lights for the Rhinos and Wakey.
Should be a good
First
game.
academies, isn't it?
Jim, you can't let us down like you did on Friday. You've never put the boots in. You said you were going to get.
He knows I've
been
to double your
You've
games this year already.
You've not.
Triple then.
There'll be no championship review and preview next week, so obviously it's Challenge Cup, so we'll see you in 2 weeks.